Have you ever felt like the biggest mystery in your life is you? Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today with Paul Brunton's classic, The Secret Path. It's a guide for a journey that, let's be honest, most of us completely neglect, the one that leads right to the very center of our own self. Brunton kicks things off with this quote from Alexander Pope, and man, does it nail the problem. It just perfectly captures our own paradoxical nature, doesn't it? We can measure the distance to the stars, but we can't seem to get a handle on our own minds. We really are the glory, jest, and riddle of the world. So that brings us right to part one, the riddle of yourself. Why is it that in an age of basically infinite knowledge, we're still such a mystery to ourselves? Brunton's argument is that we've just been looking in all the wrong places.
And when we look, we're faced with this really stark contrast. On one hand, you've got the modern materialist view from thinkers like Bertrand Russell that says we're basically just an accidental collocation of atoms. But then, on the other hand, you have this ancient wisdom from the seers, which has always insisted there's something more, a spiritual self that actually lasts.
And this really gets to the core irony of our time. I mean, science has made these incredible leaps, but as Brunton points out, all its steps are in one direction, outwards. We can build these massive bridges to span giant rivers, but we can't seem to bridge the gap to answer the simple question, who am I? So, if the answer isn't out there, where is it? Well, that leads us right to part two, a path within. Brunton's whole idea is that the answer isn't in the world of facts and figures. It's on a secret path that's unique for every single person who travels it, a path that leads inwards. Okay, so to walk this path, you need a destination, right? Brunton gives it a name, the Overself. Now, this is not your everyday personality, your likes, your dislikes, your moods. No, this is the real deal, the divine self that lives beyond all our fleeting thoughts and emotions. It's like a silent, all-knowing spectator, and it's the source of all real peace and wisdom. Listen to how this ancient Indian seer describes it. It so perfectly captures the mysterious vibe of the Overself. It's the silent watcher behind our eyes, the quiet listener behind our ears. It's the permanent part of us that just witnesses the whole ever-changing show of our lives. Now, I know what you might be thinking. This all sounds a little abstract, a bit out there, right? But here's the thing about Brunton. He is super practical. And that brings us to part three, the art of self-inquiry. He doesn't just talk about the Overself. He gives you a concrete, step-by-step method to find it, and you don't even have to run off to a monastery. So, what is this method? Well, it's a really powerful process of self-analysis. It's all about asking a series of sharp, piercing questions. First, am I my body? Then you move on. Am I my emotions and my desires? And finally, am I my thinking intellect? You see? It's a process of elimination, really, to find out what's left. Let's just take that first question. Are you your body? Think about it. Your body ages, it needs to sleep, it can get injured. You could lose a limb, God forbid, but that feeling of I would still be there, just as strong as ever. So Brunton argues, if the I stays the same while the body is constantly changing, then the body can't be the true self. It's just something the self uses. Okay, so now let's apply that to the intellect. It's a similar logic. This actually connects perfectly to Descartes' famous line, I think, therefore I am. The very fact that you can observe your thoughts means there has to be a thinker doing the observing. Something is watching the thoughts float by, choosing some, rejecting others. That permanent watcher, Brunton says, is much closer to the real I than the thoughts themselves. So you do all this hard work, this rigorous self-inquiry, and it leads you to this incredible point on the path, our next section, the moment of awakening. This is the climax, where all our intellectual effort hits a wall, and something else has to take over. And this is where the approach does a complete 180. After all the hard work, all the mental heavy lifting, the final step isn't to try harder. It's actually the total opposite. You just let go. You stop striving, and you simply wait with this kind of humble, patient expectancy. So what are we waiting for? Brunton has a word for it, grace. And this isn't something you can force or earn with sheer willpower. He describes it as a response from the Overself, this unexpected, unwilled flow of spiritual force that finally brings the clarity, the illumination you've been searching for. And listen, this experience isn't just for ancient mystics. The poet Lord Tennyson described his own awakening this way, saying his individuality itself seemed to dissolve and fade away into boundless being. But this wasn't disappearing. For him, it was discovering what he called the only true life. But, and this is a huge but, this journey isn't about escaping the world. Not at all. And that brings us to our final and maybe most important section, the gospel of inspired action. This is all about bringing that profound inner discovery back into our everyday lives to make them richer and, honestly, way more effective. Brunton uses this amazing analogy of a whirlwind. The world can feel like a storm, right? Just chaos, demands, distractions. But by finding that still center within, the Overself, you find a place of perfect calm that the storm can't touch. And from there, you can navigate all the outer chaos with total stability.
And this connection brings real, tangible results. It's not just a nice, warm feeling. We're talking about an inner poise that keeps you steady no matter what. It gives you this kind of intuitive guidance for life's big problems and a deep sense of security. And ultimately, your actions become inspired, calm, and way more powerful.
So ultimately, this path is not about passively hiding from the world's problems. No way. It's about developing an inner strength and wisdom that lets you actively and effectively engage with life, instead of just sitting back and waiting for the next disaster to hit. And so we end right back where we started, with the most fundamental question there is, one that Brunton poses directly to us. After all our exploration of the outer world, the ultimate challenge is still right here. So forget everything else for just a moment and ask yourself this. Man, dost thou understand thyself?